9. Massive supercar seizure. Following a 2-month-long investigation into stolen luxury cars in 2022, investigators from the California Highway Patrol raided the North Hollywood home of a 39-year-old man named Vade Shavushayan. They ended up seizing at least 35 vehicles from his backyard, including Aston Martins, Bentleys, BMWs, Jaguars, Land Rovers, Lexuses, Mercedes-Benzes, and Porsches. Authorities also uncovered a criminal marijuana growing operation consisting of more than 400 plants. An illegal gun was also discovered on the man's property. So they took Shavushayan into custody on suspicion of being a felon in possession of a firearm. Officials revealed that Shavushayan was accused of fraudulently buying the cars from unsuspecting dealerships in Southern California. The vehicles had an estimated cumulative value of around $2.3 million. Some of them were reportedly involved in other crimes in the area after they were stolen. The vague coverage of the case poses a lot of questions, including why Shavushayan wasn't charged with any crimes directly related to the alleged stolen cars and was only apprehended on a gun charge. When the YouTube channel Donut Media reached out to the police to try filling in some of these gaps, an officer reportedly said that the situation wasn't a clear-cut theft case, but an elaborate and organized case of fraud. It's not likely that it was a one-man operation, and more investigating was required at the time of the bust. Unfortunately, it's unclear where the case stands today, and it's not known if Shavushayan was ever charged in connection with the supercars. 8. Stubborn driver smashes Lambo. Reckless supercar drivers have become such a problem in South Australia that lawmakers are passing legislation that requires owners to have a special permit to drive certain models, in addition to a standard driver's license. The law was introduced in 2019 after a Lamborghini Huracan hit and killed a young woman, and the legislation is currently still in effect today. In 2022, another Huracan driver refused to pull over for police during an attempt at a routine traffic stop for speeding. A dangerous chase ensued, with the Lamborghini driver reaching speeds of up to 130 miles per hour in a 43 mile per hour zone. A skilled driver behind the wheel of a Lambo could easily outrun a standard cop car, but this motorist lost control of the vehicle and smashed into 2 other automobiles. The driver of the Huracan fled the scene on foot with the passenger, while the other people involved in the accident stayed behind to talk to the police. Luckily, nobody was seriously hurt. Law enforcement soon caught up with the suspect and took him into custody on suspicion of 7 crimes, including a police assault count. The Huracan was severely damaged in the wreck. Several airbags were deployed and the exterior was visibly banged up. And while it's unclear what became of the car or its owner, Auto Evolution pointed out in its coverage of the case that Australian authorities have a penchant for seizing expensive cars from crime suspects and selling them at auction. So there's a chance that it found new ownership and was restored to its former glory, but we may never know for sure. 7. Out-of-control convoy. In most parts of India, the only places for supercar owners to test the limits of their vehicles are public roads, where street racing and reckless driving are illegal. Of course, the law doesn't stop some people, and the problem seems to have grown in recent years. During the earliest days of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, the owner of a Lamborghini Gallardo lost control of his car during a race in Bangalore and crashed into one of the last structures most people would ever want to hit with a vehicle, a police kiosk. 28-year-old amusement park owner and entrepreneur Sunny Sabharwal smashed into the small building at a high rate of speed, leaving a gaping hole in the wall. Bystander footage showed that he was riding in a convoy with several other supercars at the time. He tried to pull off a stunt after passing through a traffic light, only to realize the hard way that perhaps he's not as good of a driver as he thought. Nobody was present at the stand when the collision occurred, so Sabharwal took the opportunity to pose in front of the debris with a big smile on his face. He posted the image on social media, but soon deleted it and turned himself into the police, who seized his India limited edition Gallardo LP5502. The model was released exclusively in India in 2013 to commemorate Lamborghini's 50th anniversary. Only 6 of the ultra-rare cars were ever made, selling for over $500,000 each. Sabharwal is a well-known influencer and appears to have moved past the incident. 6. Maserati misery. While parts of southern Florida grappled with the disastrous aftermath of Hurricane Ian in 2022, a trio of teen boys found a Maserati with the keys inside and decided to take it for a joyride. 2 deputies in a passing helicopter spotted the theft in progress and alerted their colleagues on the ground. Law enforcement tried to catch up with the teens, who assumed they were about to be chased and sped off. They were apparently unaware that the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office has a policy against high-speed car chases, which are known to put lives in danger over crimes that often aren't very serious. Sadly, the young men crashed into a building at a high rate of speed, killing one of the passengers. Another one of the teens was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and wasn't expected to survive. The driver was wounded from the wreck, but he made it in the end. Photos of the accident's aftermath showed the car upside down and crumpled up on the pavement like a crushed soda can. Fox 13 reported that the teens' parents had been trying to guide their troubled sons onto the right path. They were shocked to learn that the young men weren't in bed when the police showed up to deliver the terrible news. 5. Serial scammer snatched from Porsche. In 2022, a flashy red Porsche pulled over on a roadside in Singapore's Little India neighborhood. Shocked witnesses watched as a white Audi pulled up behind the Porsche and 4 men leapt out of it. They then forced the Porsche driver to his knees and into their car in broad daylight before speeding off. Investigators later found out that the kidnappers held the victim for ransom in an attempt to recover a large amount of money he swindled from them in an e-commerce scam. The Porsche driver, 29-year-old Andrew Lim Kai, is allegedly a serial scammer, and his dishonesty backfired on him in a major way when he bailed on an agreement to sell a $48,000 Rolex for one of his abductors. When the watch's owner tried to retrieve the Rolex, it was nowhere to be found and neither was Kai, so he decided to track the scammer down personally. The fact that the fraudster drove a brightly colored car that was impossible to miss most likely made it easy for his captors to find him. It's unclear how long the kidnappers kept Kai, but they eventually let him go. Shortly after that, authorities charged the man with an unrelated fraud case and announced that he could be facing as many as 9 other charges relating to his alleged scams. The abductors were also arrested for their accused roles in the kidnapping. According to the most recent updates, Kai remained at the center of an ongoing investigation. 4. Hit and run rampage. Supercar enthusiasts were horrified in 2020 when footage surfaced online of an ultra-rare Gambala Mirage GT wreaking havoc in the streets of Manhattan. The bizarre campaign of destruction began during the early morning hours when the driver smashed into a vehicle in Hell's Kitchen on April 7th. He then crashed into several more cars before coming to a stop and being apprehended by police. The driver didn't lose control of the car, but instead, footage showed that he deliberately rammed it into one vehicle after the next while speeding through the streets and blowing through red lights. At the time, the streets of New York City were eerily empty due to coronavirus lockdown restrictions. This was likely the only reason nobody was hurt during the unprovoked rampage. When all was said and done, the luxury supercar was in pitiful shape, leaving people wondering why the driver would destroy such a nice and expensive vehicle for what literally seemed like no reason. He wrecked the car like an old toy he was sick of playing with, even though only 25 Gambala Mirage GTs were ever created, with each one costing up to $800,000. When video of the incident surfaced, many speculated that the car was being driven by a thief. But the legitimate owner, Benjamin Chen, was the culprit behind the wheel. By then, he already had a history of wrecking supercars, including a Bugatti Veyron. Authorities charged Chen with operating a vehicle under the influence and reckless driving. With so much video evidence, one might think it would be a slam-dunk case, but the charges were dropped in 2021 apparently due to a lack of evidence. Writing for Jalopnik, automotive journalist Lawrence Hodge speculated that Chen got out of trouble because he has money. It certainly seems plausible, and it's more believable than the prosecutor's claims that they were unable to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Hodge wrote that he hoped the owners of the damaged cars sued Chen so that he would be held accountable and some form of justice would be served. 3. Fake Ferraris. In 2022, Italian authorities caught a 26-year-old man driving a fake Ferrari in the country's northwestern region. Agents from the Guardia di Finanza, the agency that deals with financial crime and smuggling, discovered the phony supercar in the town of Asti. The vehicle was identified as a Toyota MR2 coupe disguised as a Ferrari F430. It had been modified to closely resemble the real deal and was covered in Ferrari badges. The vehicle also had genuine Ferrari parts, but it failed to pass when it came under the scrutiny of highly trained eyes. Some internet users were impressed by the imposter's skills, but Italy takes deep pride in the quality of its luxury and exotic cars, and a knockoff is simply unacceptable. The driver of the phony Ferrari learned this the hard way when he was charged with using registered trademarks without authorization. His arrest came amid a months-long investigation called Operazione Cavallino, which sought to uncover a scheme that involved fraudulently acquiring supercars and taking them to Spain. The operation successfully blocked at least 75 medium and high-end supercars in their tracks and froze 44 bank accounts for suspected illegal transactions relating to the scam. Also, a whopping 23 people were detained. This wasn't the first time someone got arrested in Italy for having a fake Ferrari. In 2008, authorities seized 7 replicas, along with evidence that buyers knowingly bought the phony vehicles so they could sport an upscale appearance for a fraction of what a real Ferrari costs. It's unclear how many of the fakes were sold before the operation was busted, but it was clear based on the size of the illicit operation that it was highly organized and profitable. 2. Politician's wife crashes birthday present. In 2016, a high-ranking Indian politician gifted his wife a brand new Lamborghini for her birthday, only for her to crash it just moments after getting behind the wheel for the first time. Narendra Mehta was a member of the Legislative Assembly in Maharashtra state when he surprised Suman Mehta with the luxury car, which comes with a price tag well into the 6-figure range. He posted photos of Suman getting ready to take the Lambo for a spin, but his boasting backfired just moments later when Suman tabbed the back of a rickshaw with the vehicle. The rickshaw sustained minor damage, but thankfully nobody was hurt. Suman avoided criminal charges by compensating the driver for the cost of the repairs. Footage of the collision almost immediately appeared on social media and went viral. Narendra Mehta stood up for his wife, writing in a post that she had over 20 years' worth of experience driving luxury import vehicles. Some accused him of downplaying the incident, but he seemed to think that people were being overly dramatic about it. But as of recently, petty social media spats are likely the least of the couple's worries. In 2022, the Mehtas were accused of illegally amassing a suspiciously high amount of assets, including the Lamborghini, which was specifically listed in the complaint against them. Simply put, the couples purchased far more assets than their reported income can afford, and they have a lot of explaining to do for it. 1. Supermodel submerges supercar. Soraya Vucelic exploded onto the modeling scene in 2011 as Playboy's Serbian Playmate of the Year. She's seen major success since then as a supermodel and influencer, but she also made headlines for a less glamorous reason in 2019 when she accidentally drove a Lamborghini into a swimming pool. Vucelic was vacationing in the French city of Cannes when she decided to take the Lambo out for a spin. While it's unclear who the blue car belonged to, it's likely that the owner wasn't too happy when her high heel slipped, causing her to miss the brake and roll into the water. The world-famous bombshell posted footage of the smashed-up sports car being lifted from the pool in a harness, with visible body damage. Instead of being embarrassed about the expensive mishap, Vucelic took a humorous approach and owned up to the mishap. Commenters were equally comical in their responses, with one social media user sarcastically writing, "Don't worry, it happens to everyone." Would you rather have a modest home and your dream car, or live in your dream house but have no car and no convenient access to public transportation? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.